Okay, the question was, have you registered? He just registered that same day, and he was so sure because he was going to travel, and he was so sure he was going to get vaccinated the next day. And I was waiting for the magic to happen, and did the magic happen? Yes, it did happen, because the magic came from his pocket. It did happen. So we've had persons who had registered, and he said they're even going to come to his house and give him preferential treatment. Did they do it? Yes, they did it. So what of the average marketman that maybe want to be vaccinated, or the ones who don't believe those stories and want to be vaccinated, but cannot afford to host or to bring some amount of money to give these people? You register today and you're sure you'll be vaccinated tomorrow because you're going to travel in a few days, and it happened. So don't have access to these vaccines.
Okay, if I get it correctly, you're talking about people who have to pay their way through so they can get vaccinated.
That's one part of it.
Okay, I want to believe this happened because this person is in a hurry and wants to quickly get out of the country and all of that. Because I remember that.
But should you really pay your way through the?
You know, that's what I want to talk about myself. I mean, I just registered. You walk into the place. You register. You choose the local government. You choose everything, and then even while you're registering, you're made to understand if that place is available or not.
Yeah.
I've had to register, and then I'm told, okay, this place is no longer available. I had to choose another local government area, and I'm told it's not available. At the end of the day, I couldn't register that particular day because it seemed the local governments I could access were not available. And then the next day, I had to pick another day, and then I saw that, okay, I could access a particular health center. And then I also know that the Lagos State government has rolled out a particular plan where people can get vaccinated in private organizations. So you can go to an approved private premise or something, and then you pay a sum of 6,000 naira to get it. And they're saying that money, you're not paying for vaccine, you're paying for the logistics of, keeping the cold chain and all of that, getting this thing in the right, how it should be kept and all of that. That's one. So I'm really shocked that this is happening. But then for the woman you talked about who wants to get vaccinated and is really interested and is not going by the stories of people who are peddling fake news, all she needs to do is probably walk into a primary healthcare center close to her. And that's the good thing about primary healthcare centers, is that they are very close to us, very close to us. So she could walk into one and then talk to them, let them know that she wants to get vaccinated. If there is need for her to get registered or something before being vaccinated, they'll help her through the process and then she get vaccinated. I don't think that's a problem. The only problem is probably when you're in a hurry and you just want to, because you're pressed for time and you want to do something that way. You can probably, the person went to a private.
Okay, let's not go through this particular conversation. Let's just. Details are. You have to be careful of some details you give. But I know what I'm saying. I know the process that I had to go. And interestingly, it was when the vaccine just were given, the rush, the crowd. So it wasn't like it was recently that people had the crowd that died down. It was when the initial point that everybody was most persons were scampering to even get, just when the portal had just been created. So if that can happen at that point, then it's not even like it just happened when everyone had, Nigerians and the rush for.
Oh, okay, so that was then. Things are better now. Way better now.
Yeah, things are better now.
I think one of us even got vaccinated recently, and it was smooth. It was easy. So I don't think there would be a problem. I don't think that woman would have a problem. I think they should just go ahead and go to the nearest primary healthcare center. They will definitely get vaccinated. And then still back to Omicron. I remember we were talking about it earlier and why it's a variant of concern. First, it's because of the mutations. It quickly mutates, and then and the concern is, if this mutation is this high, does it mean that it can be resistant to the existing vaccines? So that's actually one of the major concerns. And so what we're trying to do now is to know for sure if it is resistant to the current vaccine. But then when we look at the fact that some of the persons who have been diagnosed with that particular variant of coronavirus, what has been discovered is that a good number of those that have been reported, I wouldn't say all of them, but at least from the ones that have been reported so far, they're having mild symptoms, which I feel is a good thing. And I want to believe that in the coming days, when we're sure about certain things, because we're looking at transmissibility, okay, is it easily transmissible? Is it very, very infectious? If it's very, very infectious, what then can we do to protect and to prevent ourselves from, getting it, and everybody just becomes carriers of that particular one? That's one. Another concern apart from that is, okay, is it deadlier than the other variants? Yeah. Because when we talk about the Delta variant was very, very infectious. And not only that, it was also if the people who had it, they didn't have mild symptoms, and so I guess that's why we're also trying to be careful to watch this one to know if it is deadly or not. And I know that in the coming days we'll have those answers. These are some of the questions that are waiting for answers. I know that in the coming days we'll have that answer about, okay, is it very highly infectious? Is it deadlier than the other variants that we've had so far? And then will it be resistant to the current vaccine we have. And the concern is that because of the mutation, there are fears or there are worries that we may need to top up, or there might be need to change certain things, make some modifications to the current vaccine so that they will be able, so that, you know, if there is a need really, the Omicron variant won't be able to resist it. So these are the things that we'll get answers to these things in the coming days. I don't really think it's a problem. In the coming days, we'll get answers to these things.
According to what some scientists have said about Omicron, they say early evidence suggests Omicron has a higher reinfection risk. But scientists say it would take about 3 weeks before it is known how the heavily mutated variant impacts the effectiveness of vaccines. I think that's just what you just talked about. And well, in the special PCR test, the sample showed an abnormality in the spike protein. The National Institute for Public Health, which announced the earlier cases had already said. So it just makes what you say more. It makes sense what you just said, because we don't know now. Even scientists don't even know if it has a higher reinfection risk, and it would take about 3 weeks for it to even be known. That means you can even have Omicron. Well, I don't know. That means Omicron can be detected in someone, or someone can have the virus and not even know till after a while. So I think that is even riskier, if you ask me, because for someone who has something for 3 weeks and mild symptoms, sometimes some persons, in Nigeria, most sicknesses is attributed to malaria. You just say I have malaria symptoms. So for that amount of time, that simply means it's in your system. You don't even know that you have that in your system. And that's, I don't know if I'm beginning to get scared. Are you? Yeah,
you shouldn't get scared. You said something that's really important, and that's the fact that a lot of times people attribute certain ailments to the common one, malaria and all of that. I think that's something we also need to check. We need to check that, because I have noticed that a lot of people just feel that when you have this and that symptoms, this is what it is. And because of that, they don't get care at the right time.
They take the wrong care.
They don't get it at the right time. So you probably just walk into a pharmacy and they prescribe the drugs by themselves. Over the counter drugs, just get the drugs, and they think they should handle it. And by the time they come back to the hospital, it's already late. Or it's almost late. So that's why I also think that we need to, disabuse our minds or people's minds from things like that. Just assuming. You don't have to assume. Go to the hospital, get checked. Let's be sure what the problem is. I also remember earlier you were talking about, I think you mentioned something about market women, or the people who have heard a lot of this fake news and some other things. That how do we get them to know the importance of vaccines and all? I think the National Orientation Agency has a role to play here. It really has a role to play, because if we have a situation where certain elements are misinforming people, it's a responsibility to ensure that that is addressed. The media, we're trying as much as we can. I mean, every day we're talking about this. We even tell people I've been vaccinated and all of that, just to encourage people. But then we need a National Orientation Agency to also partner with media, to partner with certain organizations that that people listen to. You can partner with churches, partner with mosques, partner with religious organizations, just to be able to reach the people. It's about reaching the people. It's about reaching those that really deserve or need to be reached. So when you're able to reach them in the language they understand, you're able to help them, and maybe they have fears, you allay their fears, and then you help them clear their doubts and all of that. It becomes easier, it becomes better. So some of this should not be left to the federal government up there. Yes, because the federal government already has ministries, departments, and agencies that are supposed to work. So the National Orientation Agency is an arm of the federal government. So do the job, get into the locals and talk to the people in their own language. That's where they'll be able to understand. That's where they will know better. That's something I feel that we really need to do. And trust me, media is doing a lot. You hardly turn on your radio, or you tune into a radio station or turn on your television in a week without hearing a station saying one or two things about vaccination and how that you have to protect yourself.
Yeah.
And I think talking about protection, this is something we also need to take seriously. I see that we have returned to the pre-COVID era where people don't even wear their masks anymore. People don't keep the distance anymore. People don't care about certain things anymore. We can't throw caution to the wind at this point in time.
Yeah.
I don't think it's time for us to relax yet. It's not
even time to relax at all. Not even yet. You shouldn't even relax at all, because when we thought the lockdown was relieved and people were coming back, things were coming back to normal, we had the Delta variant, and now we thought everything was going. Of course, it's the Utah season. People want to travel on vacation with their families, travel out and go to some fun places, and now we're hearing of the Omicron variant again. So it's not even time to relax at all. Another very, very important point is the fact that, please, if you are a peddler of fake news, I think you should hold it there. You know why? Because for every fake news you dish out to the public, you're killing someone, and you're depriving some persons of basic information that they should know. Some persons won't even give the fake news. They even know the real thing. So I don't know why they find so much pleasure. Or some persons don't even know. They're just maybe a product of their thoughts or imaginations or what they think is the truth. Rather than, if you do not have anything to say, I think the person is get information from the right sources. And the problem is, rather than go to the right sources to ask for information, you ask for information from any other person, and then anybody can tell you anything. There are designated authorities. If you do not know what to ask, please come and ask me. Ask Perpetua. We'll tell you, rather than have some because fake news would even kill more than this virus. Yes, and I think if you don't have any information to give, I think you should just maybe don't say anything, rather than say something that would harm your neighbor or harm the average Nigerian who is really looking for care and needs to know information. So basically, that's really all I have to say about this, because it can be really appalling. You know, it can be really, really. I call it a disheartening thing, because whoever gives fake news, I don't think, maybe you know the right thing and you choose to say the wrong thing. That makes you an irresponsible Nigerian. Definitely, that's what it is. Thank you, Margaret, for that. And I guess we had a great time talking about Omicron and, of course, giving updates about coronavirus and vaccination and what have you. We'll go on a very quick break now, and when we return, we'll launch you into some more interesting segments on iBrand Daybreak this Thursday morning. Stay with us.